my honor to present the 2017 James A. Tidwell Award for Excellence in Scholastic Media Education and a check for $300 to Brenda Fields.
Okay, so I decided to make this more complicated by adding technology, so we'll see if we can. Are we good up there? Which button do I? Oh, yay, I figured it out. Okay. Before I begin, I have to thank the Illinois Journalism Education Association for this tremendous honor. I'm not one to seek the spotlight, and I'm definitely not of the mind that anything I've done I've accomplished alone. But it does mean the world to me to be recognized by people I admire professionally as well as personally. We may feel like we're on islands as advisors, but if you've been doing this long enough, you know you don't survive without support, especially from those who understand your job better than anyone else. So, as 2016 drew to a close, social media exploded with the notion that the year had been one of the worst on record. Between celebrity deaths and our contentious political climate, 2016 just had to go. Good riddance. But from my perspective, 2016 wasn't all that bad. Two miraculous things happened last year. Governor Rauner signed House Bill 5902. Oh, uh-oh. There was a picture there. There is no longer a picture there. Okay, well that was a picture of our sponsor, Will Gazzardi, with all of the students that came to testify at our first committee hearing. So Governor Rauner signed our bill, and the Cubs won the World Series. I had a picture of that too. I don't think that's there. Okay, on the surface, these two events couldn't be more unrelated. But I'm going to propose that in addition to happening in the same year, these successes actually have a lot in common. And it's in these similarities that we're reminded of the power of what we do every day in our classrooms. So, sorry, Cardinal fans. I'm going to spend a little time talking about the Cubs today. I hope you can forgive me. It's okay. I have a St. Louis backpack right there. So, you may have heard me or Stan Zoller say this before, but HB 5902 was not a Stan or a Brenda thing. It was an IJEA thing. It was a Student Press Law Center thing. It was a scholastic journalism thing. It was a team thing. From our first meeting in January 2016 with Representative Elaine Nedkritz, it wasn't about any one person. It was about us. Elaine heard Stan and me describing on your behalf why our students need to be able to exercise their First Amendment rights in high school publications. She heard us tell stories of prior review, and she understood the ramifications of preventing student inquiry, of limiting their ability to speak truth to power. She understood what censorship meant for student journalists in the moment, and she acknowledged what it could mean for students in the long run, whether they chose to become journalists or not. If we don't believe in student voices in high school, why should those students believe their voices matter later on? Why should they participate in a larger democracy if they've been taught to believe the only voices that matter are those that belong to people in positions of authority? We made it out of our first committee hearing on an 11-0 vote, not because one person made all the difference, but because everyone played a part. Hope Johnson from Taylorville passionately and articulately testified on behalf of student journalists around the state. She credited her passion for journalism, and for this issue in particular, to her advisor, Stephen Steele. Kathy Wall, to whom we should give thanks for helping to spearhead this IHSA journalism tournament, spoke about her own struggles as an advisor working under the cloud of Hazelwood. Frank Lamani of the SPLC countered every legal question with a resounding answer supporting student press freedom. You weighed in by filing witness slips, or by calling your representative, or by sitting in the gallery in Springfield. The ACLU, the Library Association, and the League of Women Voters also filed slips in support of our bill. Representatives were willing to reach across the aisle and vote together, and as it turned out, many of them had worked on their own high school publications. They set aside politics to do what was right. The course of the bill's passage wasn't entirely smooth, but it was always a team effort. It happened because people were passionate about the cause, and it happened because people collaborated. On July 29th, nearly 2 months after clearing the Illinois General Assembly without a single negative vote, Governor Rauner signed our bill. It was the day before I was leaving for a family vacation, and I had scheduled a mani-pedi, something I only have time to do in the summer. Anyway, while I was waiting for my nails to dry, I decided to check Facebook. Within a moment, I saw a congratulatory post on Stan's wall from Greg Bilbrey. Rauner had unceremoniously signed the bill, and Greg had learned of its passage through an email sent out to the press. I couldn't believe it. I started to squeal, but then I remembered I was in a salon with women I didn't know sitting next to me. But then again, I didn't care about my nails anymore. I had to call Stan. I ran out to the parking lot and called from my car. The conversation went a bit like this. Stan, hi, it's Brenda. Can you believe it? I'm so excited, I don't know what to say. I know! They're winning by 12. What? The Cubs! Aren't you talking about the Cubs? No! Didn't you see? Rauner signing the bill. After that, there was some shouting and maybe a choice word or two, but we figured it out. And honestly, that conversation tells the story of our relationship over the past year. If Stan and I weren't talking about what the next steps were in terms of the bill, we were talking about the Cubs. The rides to and from Springfield were heavy on bill strategy, but you could always count on a Cubs conversation or a radio turned to AM 670. And for those of you who are Cubs fans, and even for those of you who are not, you know how exciting this year has been. When you look at this as a journalist, it's an incredible story from every angle. Sure, it's about breaking the curse. Sure, it's about 108 years. It's about families, and it's about people who didn't live to see it. It is all of those things. Yet when I think about what happened this season, I'm especially struck by the lack of ego. I'm impressed by the teamwork. I marvel at the way in which players supported each other, how at any given moment and in any particular game, anyone could be the star. I look at how resilient they were as a group, fighting back to claim a playoff series when everyone else had counted them out, and ultimately winning a championship, not just because they had talent, but because they found a way to bring that talent together in the moment that mattered most. Teamwork, passion, resilience, persistence, pulling through at just the right time. Sounds an awful lot like what we see on a daily basis in the journalism room, doesn't it? It just so happens that this week was set aside by the Partnership for 21st Century Learning for acknowledging skills for today. As teachers, we're being asked to think about how our courses integrate P21's 4 C's: communication, collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking. One tweet asked teachers to indicate by percentage how often the 4 C's were incorporated into their courses this week. 40% of respondents said 50% or less. 35% said between 50 and 75. I don't think I need to ask you how we should answer that question as journalism teachers. I can't think of a day when we're not engaged in the 4 C's in the journalism room. I was reminded of this earlier in April while in Seattle for the spring IJEA NSPA convention, and I had the opportunity to catch up with a former editor who works as a program manager at Microsoft. She studied business at U of I, and while she was on my staff for 3 years, and editor for 2, I remember she always prioritized her AP classes over her yearbook responsibilities. She did a great job, but journalism wasn't her first consideration in high school. Anyway, now, 10 years later, she tells me it's because of yearbook and the skills she learned that she was hired at Microsoft. She's become a champion of a project-based learning model, and she tells me she wishes every student had to take a class like yearbook. Moreover, while we visited her on the Microsoft campus, we talked with a panel of her colleagues whose jobs range from studying the Microsoft user audience to writing content to designing products. We heard things like, everything I do is about collaboration. I need to find just the right words for my audience. I need to be concise and precise. I use design to make the user experience easier. We're constantly thinking about who needs to get what done and in what order to make sure we meet our deadline. One of my editors wished the entire staff had been there to hear what the panel had to say. Right? We know this. Journalism is 21st century English. And it's not only that, it's giving kids access to all the skills they need to be successful. Yes, it's giving them the 4 C's. It's teaching them how to communicate. It's teaching them how to be creative, how to collaborate and work as a team, how to think critically. But it's also getting them to think about the people around them, how everyone has a story, and how those stories matter. It's helping them learn to be persistent, how to be resourceful, and how to follow through. It's presenting them with ethical dilemmas and watching how they solve challenges in a way that serves the needs of their readers and presents their coverage responsibly. It's helping them learn to be leaders on their staffs and change agents in their schools. It's forcing them to support their opinions with facts and yet remain open to new perspectives. Journalism is not only project-based learning, it is 21st century learning. It's needed for all that it does for kids, and it's needed for the world we're living in. Never has it been more important for students to know how to find reliable sources of information, how to separate fact from fiction, how to discern what is fake and what is real. As advisors, it's our job to provide kids with the tools they need to be successful in producing their publications. We're there to support and to guide. And now, with our new law, we can stand in support of students' right to free speech. We can, without fear of censorship, allow our students to responsibly report about what matters to them and what they believe needs to be changed. We still need to work together. Like before, we need to work as a team to help administrators understand that this law enhances student learning. Students who are given greater responsibility learn more. We need to help them see that it also takes the pressure off of school districts. Schools are not liable for student speech, and advisors cannot be punished for allowing students to exercise their First Amendment rights. Changes in practice and attitude don't come easily. Time and education will help. Communication and collaboration will help. IJEA is here to support you. The SPLC is here to protect you and your students. Scholastic journalism should be celebrated for all that it does for kids, while they're in it and when they move on. We need to rally together to support scholastic journalism and to champion what our kids are doing. After every Cubs win, a white flag with a blue W is flown over Wrigley Field. I had a picture of that. And fans tag photos with #FlyTheW. Last fall, when the Cubs played at home during the playoffs, everyone attending the game received a W rally towel with the names of the players, the 2016 players emblazoned on it. So today, and in honor of all of you, and to celebrate all that scholastic journalism does, I'm going to encourage us to rally together as a team to #FlyTheJ. In fact, I've made rally towels for each of you to serve as a reminder of the power of what we do every day in our classrooms and why it's important for all of us to keep fighting the good fight and to stand in support of one another and to remember to teach our students to find and use their voices. So today and every day, let's rally for scholastic journalism. #FlyTheJ. I have enough for everyone. If I don't, let me know and I'll send one to you. So, thank you so much for this tremendous honor.